Hare Krishna. So today we will continue with the introduction to Nectar of Devotion. Here Srila Prabhupada is mainly discussing three things. The first is invoking auspiciousness or offering obeisances to the Supreme Lord Krishna, to different gurus and saintly personalities. The second thing, this is called Mangala Charana in Sanskrit. Then the second thing is there is a short description of the structure of Nectar of Devotion, how he has 4 parts, and especially here in this course we are dealing only with the first part, which has 19 chapters. And then the third topic in the introduction is Srila Prabhupada is giving the definition of pure devotional service and what are the core principles behind practicing this pure devotional service. So we will go through the whole introduction in this way. So first there is auspicious invocation. Lord Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, the reservoir of all rasas, all relationships, which are called neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parenthood, conjugal love, comedy, compassion, fear, chivalry, ghastliness, wonder, and devastation. He is the supreme attractive form, and by his universal and transcendental attractive features, he has captivated all the gopis headed by Taraka, Palika, Shyama, Walita, and ultimately Srimati Radharani. Let his Lordship's grace be on us, so that there may not be any hindrance in the execution of this duty of writing the Nectar of Devotion, impelled by his divine grace, Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Shri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada and of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, by whose inspiration I have been engaged in the matter of compiling this summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is the sublime science of devotional service as propounded by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared 500 years ago in West Bengal, India, to propagate the movement of Krishna consciousness. Now Srila Prabhupada is describing how Srila Rupa Goswami starts his book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Srila Rupa Goswami begins his great book by offering his respectful obeisances unto Sri Sanatana Goswami, who is his elder brother and spiritual master, and he prays that Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu may be very pleasing to him. He further prays that by residing in that ocean of nectar, Sri Sanatana Goswami may always feel transcendental pleasure in the service of Radha and Krishna. Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the great devotees and acharyas, holy teachers, who are compared to sharks in the great ocean of nectar and who do not care for the various rivers of liberation. Impersonalists are very fond of merging into the Supreme, like rivers that come down and merge into the ocean. The ocean can be compared to liberation, and the rivers to all the different paths of liberation. The impersonalists are dwelling in the river water, which eventually comes to mix with the ocean. They have no information, however, that within the ocean, as within the river, there are innumerable aquatic living entities. The sharks who dwell in the ocean do not care for the rivers which are gliding down into it. The devotees eternally live in the ocean of devotional service, and they do not care for the rivers. In other words, those who are pure devotees always remain in the ocean of transcendental loving service to the Lord and have no business with the other processes, such are compared to the rivers that only gradually come to the ocean. Srila Rupa Goswami prays to his spiritual master, Srila Sanatana Goswami, for the protection of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the ocean of the pure nectar of devotional service. From the argumentative logicians who unnecessarily meddle in the science of service to the Lord, he compares their arguments and logic to volcanic eruptions in the midst of an ocean. In the midst of an ocean, volcanic eruptions can do very little harm. And similarly, those who are against devotional service to the Lord and who put forward many philosophical theses about the ultimate transcendental realization cannot disturb this great ocean of devotional service. The author of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami, very humbly submits that he is just trying to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, although he humbly thinks himself unfit for this work. That should be the attitude of all preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement, following in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami. We should never think of ourselves as great preachers, but should always consider that we are simply instrumental to the previous acharyas, and simply by following in their footsteps we may be able to do something for the benefit of suffering humanity. So here Srila Prabhupada is showing what is the proper mood of a representative of the disciplic succession of Guru Parampara, and that humility is very important quality to make us successful in our spiritual path, in presenting the philosophy and in also to help people to appreciate us. Now Srila Prabhupada is describing shortly what is actually Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is divided into 4 parts, just as the ocean is sometimes divided into 4 parts, and there are different sections within each of these 4 divisions. Originally in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the ocean is divided like the watery ocean into east, south, west and north, while the subsections within these different divisions are called waves. As in the ocean, there are always different waves, either on the eastern side, the southern side, the western side, or the northern side. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu similarly has different waves. In the first part, there are 4 waves. The first wave being a general description of devotional service. The second concerns the regulative principles for executing devotional service. The third wave, devotional service in ecstasy. In the fourth is the ultimate goal, love of God. This will be explicitly described along with their different symptoms. So these 4 that were just described here will be the more or less what we are going to look into in this course. This is only 1/4 of the whole description of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu or Nectar of Devotion. Now Srila Prabhupada continue with description what is pure devotional service. There is a definition that Rupa Goswami is giving in his book Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This definition is Anya Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Adhyana Vritam Anukulena Krishnanu Shilan Bhakti Ruttama. So he's describing that pure devotional service, has 3 characteristics, and pure devotional service has 5 characteristics, or the first 3 and then 2 extra characteristics. So now we are going to see which are those 5 characteristics of pure devotional service. The authorized descriptions of bhakti or devotional service following in the footsteps of previous acharyas can be summarized in the following statement by Rupa Goswami. First class devotional service is known by one's tendency to be fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, serving in the Lord favorably. The purport is that one may also be in Krishna consciousness unfavorably, but that cannot be counted as pure devotional service. Pure devotional service should be free from the desire for any material benefit or for sense gratification, as these desires are cultivated through fruitive activities and philosophical speculation. Generally, people are engaged in different activities to get some material profit, while most philosophers are engaged in proposing transcendental realization through volumes of word jugglery and speculation. Pure devotional service must always be free from such fruitive activities and philosophical speculations. One has to learn Krishna consciousness or pure devotional service from the authorities by spontaneous loving service. So, in order one activity to be a devotional service, should have three characteristics. First, the activity should be done with favorable mood, not with an unfavorable mood. Second, it should be done for the pleasure of Krishna or his expansions, everything that is connected with Krishna, like his devotees. And third, this activity should be based on authorities from disciplic succession, or based on the authoritative books, the scriptures, the Vedas. In other words, it's not a whimsical activity, but it should be based on authority. So now Srila Prabhupada will describe these three characteristics that make one activity devotional service. This devotional service is a sort of cultivation. It is not simply inaction for people who like to be inactive or devote their time to silent meditation. There are many different methods for people who want this, but cultivation of Krishna consciousness is different. The particular word used by Srila Rupa Goswami in this connection is anushilana, or cultivation by following the predecessor teachers, acharyas. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. Without activity, consciousness alone cannot help us. All activities may be divided into two classes. One class may be for achieving a certain goal, and the other may be for avoiding some unfavorable circumstance. In Sanskrit, these activities are called pravritti and nivritti, positive and negative action. There are many examples of negative action. For instance, a diseased person has to be cautious and take medicine in order to avoid some unfavorable illness. Those who are cultivating spiritual life and executing devotional service are always engaged in activity. Such activity can be performed with the body or with the mind. Thinking, feeling, and willing are all activities of the mind. And when we will to do something, the activity comes to be manifest by the gross bodily senses. Thus, in our mental activities, we should always try to think of Krishna and try to plan how to please him, following in the footsteps of the great acharyas and the personal spiritual master. These are activities of the body, activities of the mind, and activities of speech. A Krishna-conscious person engages his words in preaching the glories of the Lord. This is called kirtan. And by his mind, a Krishna-conscious person always thinks of the activities of the Lord, as he is speaking on the battlefield of Kurukshetra or engaging in his various pastimes in Vrindavan with his devotees. In this way, one can always think of the activities and pastimes of the Lord. This is the mental culture of Krishna consciousness. Similarly, we can offer many services with our bodily activities, but all such activities must be in relationship with Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada said that we have to perform activities in spiritual life. Spiritual life is not inactive, and this activity should be based on the authority, on the previous acharyas. And now he is saying this activity should be connected with Krishna. This relationship is established by connecting oneself with the bona fide spiritual master, who is the direct representative of Krishna in disciplic succession. Therefore, the execution of Krishna conscious activities with the body should be directed by the spiritual master and then performed with faith. The connection with the spiritual master is called initiation. From the date of initiation by the spiritual master, the connection between Krishna and a person cultivating Krishna consciousness is established. Without initiation by a bona fide spiritual master, the actual connection with Krishna consciousness is never performed. This cultivation of Krishna consciousness is not material. The Lord has three general energies, namely external energy, internal energy, and marginal energy. The living entities are called marginal energy, and the material cosmic manifestation is the action of the external or material energy. Then there is the spiritual world, which is a manifestation of the internal energy. The living entities who are called marginal energy perform material activities when acting under the inferior external energy. And when they engage in activities under the internal spiritual energy, their activities are called Krishna consciousness. This means that those who are great souls or great devotees do not act under the spell of material energy, but act instead under the protection of the spiritual energy. Any activities done in devotional service or in Krishna consciousness are directly under the control of the spiritual energy. In other words, energy is a sort of strength, and this strength can be spiritualized by the mercy of both the bona fide spiritual master and Krishna. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, by Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, Lord Chaitanya states that it is a fortunate person who comes in contact with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. One who is serious about spiritual life is given by Krishna the intelligence to come in contact with a bona fide spiritual master, and then by the grace of a spiritual master one becomes advanced in Krishna consciousness. In this way, the whole jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness is directly under the spiritual energy, Krishna and the spiritual master. This has nothing to do with the material world. When we speak of Krishna, we refer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his many expansions. He is expanded by his plenary parts and parcels, his differentiated parts and parcels, and his different energies. Krishna, in other words, means everything and includes everything. Generally, however, we should understand Krishna to mean Krishna and his personal expansions. Krishna expands himself as Baladev, Sankarshan, Vasudev, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Rama, Narasimha, and Varaha, as well as many other incarnations and innumerable Vishnu expansions. These are described in Srimad Bhagavatam to be as numerous as the incountable waves. So Krishna includes all such expansions as well as his pure devotees. In the Brahma Samhita it is stated that Krishna's expansions are all complete in eternity, blissfulness, and cognizance. So here Srila Prabhupada explained that we have to dedicate our activity to Krishna, and Krishna means Krishna and all his expansions, the devotees. If this is the object of our activities, that means our activity will become devotional service. And the other important point Srila Prabhupada explains is that in order to be engaged in activities of devotional service, we need a connection with the spiritual master, because we, having not enough experience, can become confused which activity is spiritual and which one is material, which one is devotional service and which one is just material activity. So the spiritual master is helping us, he is guiding us, and he is training us to be able to differentiate between spiritual activity and material activity. That's why it's a very important part of performing the activities of devotional service. And now Srila Prabhupada will explain the third point, that devotional activities or devotional service should be performed with a positive or favorable mood. Devotional service means to prosecute Krishna conscious activities which are favorable to the transcendental pleasure of the Supreme Lord Krishna. And any activities which are not favorable to the transcendental favor of the Lord cannot be accepted as devotional service. For example, great demons like Ravana, Kamsa and Hiranyakashipu were always thinking of Krishna, but they were thinking of him as their enemy. This sort of thinking cannot be accepted as bhakti or Krishna consciousness. The impersonalists sometimes misunderstand devotional service in such a way that they divide Krishna from his paraphernalia and pastimes. For example, the Bhagavad Gita is spoken on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and the impersonalists say that although Krishna is of interest, the battlefield of Kurukshetra is not. The devotees, however, also know that the battlefield of Kurukshetra by itself has nothing to do with their business. But in addition, they know that Krishna does not mean just Krishna alone. He is always with his associates and paraphernalia. For instance, if someone says, "Give something to eat to this man with the weapons," the eating process is done by the man and not by the weapons. Similarly, in Krishna consciousness, a devotee may be interested in the paraphernalia and locations such as the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which are also associated with Krishna. But he is not concerned with simply any battlefield. He is concerned with Krishna, his speech, his instructions, etc. It is because Krishna is there that the battlefield is so important. This is the summary understanding of what Krishna consciousness is. Without this understanding, one is sure to misunderstand why the devotees are interested in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. One who is interested in Krishna becomes interested in his different pastimes and activities. The definition of pure devotee as given by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu can be summarized thus. His service is favorable and is always in relation to Krishna. In order to keep the purity of such Krishna conscious activities, one must be freed from all material desires and philosophical speculation. So this is the second part. Till now we explained what is devotional service, and that it has three characteristics. It should be done with favorable mood to Krishna. It should be made for Krishna or his expansions or the things connected with him like his devotees. And it should be made according to the instructions of the acharyas or the saintly people or disciplic succession. And now in order devotional service to become pure devotional service, there is two more conditions, two more characteristics. And they were just mentioned. This activity should be free from all material desires and should be also free from philosophical speculation and fruitive activities. So these two conditions, they have to be also there in order the activity to become pure devotional service. Philosophical speculation and fruitive activity is one category, and free from all material desires is another category. Now Srila Prabhupada will explain. Any desire except for the service of the Lord is called material desire. Any philosophical speculation, philosophical speculation refers to the sort of speculation which ultimately arrives at the conclusion of voidism or impersonalism. This conclusion is useless for a Krishna conscious person. Only rarely by philosophical speculation can one reach the conclusion of worshipping Vasudeva Krishna. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita itself. The ultimate end of philosophical speculation then must be Krishna, with the understanding that Krishna is everything, the cause of all causes, and that one should therefore surrender unto him. If this ultimate goal is reached, then philosophical advancement is favorable. But if the conclusion of philosophical speculation is Voidism or impersonalism, that is not bhakti. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining a subtle point here, that philosophical speculation is of two kinds. Mental speculation, or we can say it's of two kinds. One is speculation which is not on the basis of Shastra and which is not leading us ultimately to Krishna, into devotional service of Krishna. This is unfavorable and is rejected from the devotees. But if philosophical speculation or thinking deeply on the basis of scripture help us to achieve Krishna, to achieve devotional service of Krishna, to understand that Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, then this speculation or this mental activity on the basis of scripture is accepted, is favorable for devotional service. Now Srila Prabhupada will explain why fruitive activities are not favorable for bhakti. Karma or fruitive activities are sometimes understood to be ritualistic activities. There are many persons who are very much attracted by the ritualistic activities described in the Vedas. But if one becomes attracted simply by ritualistic activities without understanding Krishna, his activities are unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. Actually, Krishna consciousness can be based simply on hearing, chanting and remembering, etc. Described in Srimad Bhagavatam are 9 different processes, besides which everything done is unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. Thus, one should always be guarding against fall downs. Srila Rupa Goswami has also mentioned in this definition of bhakti the word jnana karmadi. Karmadi, fruitive work, consists of activities which are unable to help one attain to pure devotional service. Many forms of so-called renunciation are also not favorable to Krishna-conscious devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami has also quoted a definition from Narada Pancharatra as follows. So this is another second definition given from another scripture, Narada Pancharatra, about what is pure devotional service. One should be free from all material designations and by Krishna consciousness must be cleansed of all material contamination. He should be restored to his pure identity, in which he engages his senses in the service of the proprietor of the senses. So, when our senses are engaged for the actual proprietor of the senses, that is called devotional service. In our conditioned state, our senses are engaged in serving these bodily demands. When the same senses are engaged in executing the order of Krishna, our activities are called bhakti. As long as one identifies himself as belonging to a certain family, a certain society, or a certain person, he is said to be covered with designations. So, these second definitions explain that one should free himself from any kind of false designation. Like at the moment, because we are in ignorance, we identify ourselves with this body, we identify ourselves with a certain country in the world, maybe with a particular family or family members, but all this is false identification in regard to us. Why? Because we are not this body, and in this way anything which is connected with the body is not actually connected with us. It's connected with the body. When the body is finished, all these objects connected with the body will be also finished. So if one becomes situated in his real identity as a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, and understand that his most important activity in life is to serve Krishna, then, being purified from all designations in this way, he engages his senses in the service of the master of the senses, or Krishna. And this is called pure devotional service. This is the second definition. When one is fully aware that he does not belong to any family, society or country, but is eternally related to Krishna, he then realizes that his energy should be employed not in the interests of so-called family, society or country, but in the interests of Krishna. This is purity of purpose and the platform of pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness. So this is the introduction to Nectar Devotion by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.